For our final race before the Integrity Racing League enters its Easter vacation, we're taking it back to the basics of short track style. A half-mile circuit that needs no introduction plays as our welcoming venue. This is the Bristol Motor Speedway from Bristol, Tennessee. Welcome back to coverage live on FTN of the Integrity OCTANE Series and its 9th race of the 2025 season. As we mentioned, we are back in the last great coliseum, and we are overjoyed to return to a circuit that has brought us many an exciting race and many an exciting finish over the past 2 previous years of octane competition. Welcome back live on FTN Broadcasting as well. After a dominant race for Ethan Lane last night, he'll be among the many competing for the race victory in today's festivities. I'll be your host once again. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing. Currently, we find ourselves with qualifying on the way. It looks like some 33 drivers have taken a time out of the 37 who are registered. At the top of the board is going to be Scott Eckrich, Brian Yazik, and Ethan Lane are then second and third. And you're looking at some of your final guys to take a time. This in particular is Richard Smith. Smith in the number 23 comes up and down the alleyway. He's going to be now 31st after that last lap. Smith is going to be in the 23 tonight. Randy Fiash is not on the circuit, and none of the 3 drivers who have yet to take a time have hit the track. Zach Scrintonall enters pit road, and it looks like he lies there now. Same goes for Brad Patton, and Tom Wetmore, who's qualified now in 9th after some contact late in the race last week at Darlington, is looking for a recovery run. He finds himself qualified solidly currently, and with 10 seconds left on the clock, Tom will remain inside the top 10. Nevertheless, your top driver in qualifying is already a multi-time winner this season. That is the number 70 of Scott Eckrich. Eckrich will grab the pole position, and he'll be alongside Brian Yazik, a driver who only 0.005 of a second off the pole has not yet won a single race in his Integrity Racing League career. He's still chasing after win number 1, and tonight could be a great opportunity to go out there and get it. Practice one final time. Drivers going to get themselves warmed up for today's race, a 200-lap, 100-mile feature. Quite the opposite, shall we say, of the last Octane Series race, which came in at 183 laps and 250 miles. Tonight, a few more laps, but a significantly smaller mileage on the day. Such is the nature of short track action on iRacing. You can go for lap after lap after lap, but you really won't be making all that much difference of a distance. Qualifying order is set tonight, 37 strong. We have 1 driver making his overall debut. Rest of the field we have seen throughout 2025. Let's get to know them from beginning to end. It'll be inside of row number 1, Scott Eckrich with the pole position. Scott taking P1, and he does so with a 14.158 as his quick lap. Brian Yazik was only 0.005 of a second off, as we mentioned. According to iRacing, it was a 14.163. Second quickest time, just off the pole position. Nevertheless, a very strong run for the Yazik machine. Ethan Lane will go 3rd, and Blake Cannon will go 4th. Both fought for the victory in Indianapolis last night. Jared Davis had the lead of the penultimate lap in Indy. He's now going to qualify just behind the man who stole that win from him. It'll be Lane, of course, ahead, Jared Davis in 5th, and Nate Campbell finds himself 6th position. 7th place. Then on back will be Brad Patton in the number 7. Nicholas Ward goes 8th. Tom Wetmore goes P9. And Sam Nieto rounds out the top 10. Nick Tarbuck and Kyle Trudell are the final drivers in your top dozen, with 13th place then occupied immediately after by Cody Smith. Brock Potter goes 14th. Zach Scrintonall 15th. And Bobby Keith P16. Jacob Fife will be 17th on the day, with Ross Cato then 18th place. 19th and 20th are Kyle Cooper and Galen Gidman respectively. Then Just beyond that, you'll have your P22 driver, and there's Ryan Bean. He's going to be 21st. Nolan Potter's 22nd. 23rd goes to Matt Sisler, and Woody Mahan goes for 24th. P25 subsequently will be Kevin Bernheimer. And for the top 30, you'll have Josh Gallagher, Don Stevenson, Paul Mikolajczyk, Eric McFarlane, and Aaron Eads, and then number 88. That's going to round down your top 30. 31st is Richard Smith. 32nd is Sean Kalist. P33 is Eli Cars, and Chad Dillon will be in 34th. With your final driver in the top 35 making his grand debut, that is Martin Tomlik in the 01. Your 36th and 37th drivers are the 54 of Randy Fiash, and finally the number 62 of Brian Perry. It's a big lineup at a short circuit, and the Bristol Motor Speedway is now less than 5 minutes away from the green flag. Scott Eckrich on the pole position for your lineup at the last great Coliseum. Many a driver on the circuit here getting a few extra times, although most of these laps really won't mean all too much. Close quarters racing in the next gen, we've seen it before. Once this was the regular season finale race in which Tom Wetmore collected his 5th career victory. Nicholas Ward was close to winning that night, and he was able to lead about 10-15% of the race. Just couldn't come through at the very end. When it counted, the number 51 got ahead and got his final win of the 2023 Tour for the Tube Tech team. Tonight, of course, a lot of drivers here who weren't there in that 2023 run. We went to Bristol last season, if you remember, but also that was not with the next gen. That was instead with the Gen 4 car. So a lot different when you compare those two packages. I think that's something you have to keep in mind when evaluating driver performance tonight. A lot of these drivers, whether or not they've been with us for 1 season or 2 seasons, they haven't seen the next gen in action in this league. For the 3-season veterans, that they have, but those are fewer and harder to come by than compared to the 2024 and 2025 drivers who populate the majority of this field. Side by side, Matt Sisler and Paul Mikolajczyk, and they're going to continue battling each other all the while. At the end of this session, it looks like it will be Blake Cannon, the fastest driver. We'd like to thank Blake Cannon for sponsorship of tonight's event, and we'll get into it more as the night progresses, but Cannon Creations is the primary sponsor for this showdown. It's the Cannon Creations 200 laps on the calendar, and drivers now are heading to the starting grid to get this show on the road. All led by the iRacing official pace car. The stage is set for an exciting run in Bristol, Tennessee. Jared Davis up in the front. Many a driver still loading in. Nate Campbell on the outside after a solid performance last week. Davis finishing 2nd place last night. Unfortunately, he's kept himself quite a mystery. We still have not heard from him once this season, even though he's got a victory and multiple podiums across both seasons. He's quite the enigma so far. There's Brian Yazik on the outside. And after some contact last week, he was able to resurge himself up inside the top 15 conversation. He's a driver who fights even when he's down. He really is never out, no matter where you find him. Scott Eckrich, the number 70, your pole sitter, has loaded in. Watch out for Scott tonight. He's looking for, of course, win number 3 on his season. 2 back-to-back wins at the Circuit of the Americas and Phoenix. And he's already done it once before at an oval. He proves that the track type is not a limiting factor. And the Bristol Motor Speedway, while often prone to high passing in terms of frequency, it's also a little bit of a challenge to get around just by how narrow the racetrack is. And I think that for tonight's case, with these next gens, it'll be more challenging than anything else for drivers to make it through. I think that difficulty is going to be more prominent than anything else in the field today. Coming to 1 lap to green now. Eckrich with the advantage on the bottom. Brian Yazik might be able to make something happen by sailing up high. Remember that the top group is rather strong at Bristol, and especially in recent years, we've seen drivers use it to their advantage. You might be working with a little bit more distance to travel, but the speed carried with some of the highest bankings in all of oval racing help out significantly more. Watch out for Yazik on the high side today, and Eckrich down low, as they'll get things going. Green flag is due to fly in Bristol, Tennessee, and your front runners bring us right to the green flag. Eckrich down low, Yazik up high, green flags out in the Cannon Creations 200. Scott Eckrich pulls away. He's got the early advantage. The rest of the field stays in his back pocket. It's going to be Eckrich now over Yazik, Ethan Lane, and Blake Cannon. Cannon stays fourth. It's going to be single file, 1, 2, 3 on down. And of course, you'll see Cannon now working the high side, trying to get himself back in business as he makes his move to try getting the podium. That attempt, of course, is going to come with some challenges. Ethan Lane defends on the bottom. And so, we're in business. Zach Scrintinol going to be toe-to-toe now with Nick Tarbuck. These two drivers side by side. Scrintinol working the high. This would be for around the 11th position. Scrintinol can get through Sam Nieto. It looks like right now he's quick enough to do so, and he's made another pass. Contact! Brock Potter into Zach Scrintinol. Zach will save it, but Nieto gets turned up the track, and the yellow flag is now out. Caution for the first time today, and you saw it unfold. Nieto contacted him in a battle. Potter saved it, but Scrintinol tagging him on the way around, and the yellow falls for the first time today. Field comes together. Sam Nieto falls to the back of it, of course. And so, with the caution out, now we're going to find out what's next. See Blake Cannon finding himself now third place. Ethan Lane fourth. And it looks like for the time being, those front runners remain in constant position. Didn't see a lot of movement up ahead. The only exception, of course, being Nieto getting that extra contact. Looks like Brock Potter, for what it's worth, although he was part of the start of the incident, gets away from it better than Sam Nieto. He finds himself now on pit road just to get some damage repaired. He saved it, and it looks like he'll be able to continue on, although he will voluntarily take it down and in. Right side damage, though, it's pretty clear, but it could have been a whole lot worse if he ended up spinning in front of the pack. Something he was able to avoid by using the wall to his advantage. Brian Yazik leading this time by just getting the edge over Scott Eckrich at the scoring loop, and so he'll have the honors of taking control for our opening restart. Hopefully it won't be one of many, but really no guarantees when it comes to the Bristol Motor Speedway. Tension for the field tonight, of course, is rather unknown when it comes to strategy. We'll see some drivers coming in. There's the number 34 of Nolan Potter, who's decided to take himself through, as Brock did. It looks like a strategy call here for the 34. Same goes for Eric McFarland and Aaron Eads. They're also early adoptees of pit road, whereas Yazik here has decided to stay out. And by doing so, will lead restart number 1. Blake Cannon, number 44, has that number glow on it. Looks like chrome numbers attached to the sides of your fourth place driver. Now he's got himself up to third by working the inside with Brian Yazik. Should be an advantage, and it might just get him up the ladder of position on this run through. Green flag's out. Yazik on the inside. He'll have the edge into turn one. Scott Eckrich fights up top. One, two, three, single file, but already you're going to see that side-by-side racing come back to life. Tom Wetmore is going to be right up there. There's Nate Campbell working low. And the sun is beaming down on the circuit tonight. Expecting to see that slow but sure sunset, but I don't think it's going to affect strategy all too much. 200 laps of racing comes quick at Bristol, but the sun might set even faster. We're working with a 200% climate control today, which means that every hour of racing, every actual hour, mind you, will end up seeing 2 hours of change in the weather. So 2 hours worth of sunset for every 60 minutes. Might end up being a differentiator visually, but we are highly unlikely to see a big change as to whether or not these drivers have control of their tire and grip overall. As it stands, even though it's rather sunny on the racetrack, your track temperature, it's pretty good out there, coming in at 73 degrees Fahrenheit and an ambient temperature of 66 degrees. So the field shouldn't concern themselves all too much with weather today, as here comes number 44 of Blake Cannon making it by for second place. Scott Eckrich going to get another pass put on him. He's gone now from first to third. Eckrich up from fourth to second. Gaining one is Brian Yazik for the race lead. Jared Davis has gained one so far as well. Fifth place up to fourth as it stands. According to the timing and scoring, he still has a ways to go. He'll go to the inside and take third place. That'll make it a second spot gain. And Davis is again inside the podium. The end goal for Jared tonight, I would not doubt it, is again to finish in the top three. He's been a remarkable driver as of his opening races in his Integrity Racing League career. While he missed the Daytona races for both series, he has been a constant ever since, and has not only been here every race in terms of attendance, but he's been here when it comes to performance. He is one of the outright best drivers so far in this series, and I think that's something you look forward to in seeing these new drivers making great runs. That's something that we see so far as it's side by side, Brian Yazik and Blake Cannon for the race lead. Yazik, a rookie, not quite able to hold on, and instead the 44 of Cannon makes his way. That's Blake for P1. And now Cannon finds himself all the way up and ahead, 21 laps in out of 200. Let's see what he can do here, taking the race lead and taking it by storm. In perhaps a similar approach to what he was doing in Darlington, Blake Cannon has unleashed the beast and gotten himself up in front, while teammate Tom Wetmore has been sitting idly from 9th to 8th so far on the day. It's once again his ever-aggressive teammate who's making the early moves for Roadhouse Racing. And I think that's going to be the trend when it comes to how this season works out. Blake Cannon is all about driving up to the front of the field and using that power he's got to push through. Tom Wetmore is a lot more of a conservative driver with respect to his strategy, and that continues to be visualized no matter how he goes at it. Performance-wise, Tom Wetmore often finds successes, and it doesn't mean that he's going to struggle indefinitely, even if he finds himself, of course, laying back early on. So watch out as the night progresses for the driver of the number 51. Wetmore's got a lot, of course, of time, and he can use it pretty well from here. But that remains to be seen. You'll see further up in front, Blake Cannon still leading, and the 19 of Jared Davis is on his back end. Zach Scrinton up top, going at it with Nate Campbell. That's the battle for third place, and it looks like now it's rather heated. 3 wide, it could be if Kyle Trudell gets in the mix. And Trudell is coming off of his best career run. He was just laps away from winning it all last week in the Southern 250. And I'll tell you this much, he put together a wonderful race. A driver who might not be all too well known in terms of the Integrity Racing League to this point. But I think as time progresses, he's got a great opportunity to just keep on improving and make those strong runs time and time again. What he did, of course, in the Southern 250 was work strategy and also prove that he had that aggressive streak in him to maintain position. That also is something you absolutely need as a driver to survive in the Integrity Racing League, to know that you are not going to be pushed around. And Trudell did just that in Darlington, even on slightly older rubber, and kept the fight to the front of the field in what was eventually a podium finish, and one that, of course, came down to the line. Cannon, nevertheless, leads the way here. Jarrett Davis looks up top, but again, Cannon is going to block, and that defense is as critical as it gets. Exciting to watch now what the number 44 will do. Blake Cannon right now still working every groove. So far he's been given every groove time after time. It looks like for the time being, if we talk about the numbers, Cannon has been running very similar laps to his contemporaries. 14.898 that time by 14.932 for the driver of the number 44. That's Blake Cannon. Minor differentiation. Cannon was slightly slower that time previous, but I think that's something that is not going to matter all too much. Cannon, as a leader and as an active defender of all lanes, still sets the tone and sets the pace of this event. Lest he is passed, which of course could happen, it looks like right now he's got all he needs. Look further back and you'll see Jacob Fife with Nicholas Ward and Brad Patton. Patton is defending right now. This is for the 13th position. Nicholas Ward, that's where he sits. Patton is 12th. 14th is going to be Fife. P15 is Nick Tarbuck. Ward looks low. Patton up top. Not going to care all too much about the active defense there. He's just going to let the momentum of that corner take him through. And that looks to be one of the big calls in terms of defense, is to not defend. Instead, focus on yourself rather than making use of all that aggressive nature that a lot of drivers try to emphasize at a short track. A lot of the most famous and iconic moments of short track racing have come by bumping, running, shoving, and overall, two cars making contact. But even though it makes for great highlight reels, it really doesn't help all too much a driver in terms of their performance. Let's talk about one driver briefly who's got a great performance going on before we head back to that main point. Paul Mikolajczyk is up from 28th, and he's now going side by side for 4th. That is a plus 24 on the day, and now it's going to be a plus 23. Nevertheless, he's gotten himself so far up with only that early yellow flag to speak of. Paul Mikolajczyk, what about the big mover? As so far, he is up more than 20 spots. And it looks like with his ever the aggressive nature, he might be falling back right now once again, but the fact he drove up here to begin with, quite the shock. He did so fast that didn't even catch wind of it, but the yellow flag is out. Trouble, and let's see who and why. Looking like Aaron Eads a little slow there. Sam Nieto, one lap down, getting back on the way. Taking a look now to show you what happened. Yellow flag is out. Galen Gidman looks like no damage on that 0-4. We'll pull it back one lap regardless, trying to figure out who exactly was involved in our most recent yellow. Caution is called, and the entire field slows down here. Front runners, back runners coming all together, but as you can see, based on what we're looking at here, the entire field looked to be practically fine. One more time. 82. Oh, contact with Sean Kalist. That is Eli Cars into Kalist, and they spin briefly, but minor damage if anything, and every driver involved will continue on. Blake Cannon staying out, many on pit road, and you'll see Brian Yazik is one of those who decides to come down and in. Scott Eckridge more the same. Eckridge in the number 70 will be beaten out by Jared Davis, Zach Scrintinol, Nate Campbell, Ryan Bean, Paul Mikolajczyk, Kyle Trudell, and there's Brian Yazik, who just gets ahead of Scott Eckridge. A lot of takers, that's for sure. Blake Cannon, though, as your leader, he is not one of them. Coming to the green flag for lap number 46. It's your second restart of the day. Cannon will be in control. Ethan Lane is now on the bottom, and it looks like there's going to be some 20 drivers of defense when it comes to the new tire brigade versus the old. So Cannon has a buffer. More important than that, he's got some quick buffers to work with. Some of the fastest guys in this field decided to stay out, and they're going to mind their own and maintain with this original stint of rubber. One extra lap to green. We will restart at lap 48. Brad Patton, Nicholas Ward are some of those guys on the second row, and they find themselves as now that up front defense for those on old tire. Patton has looked strong so far, and Nicholas Ward, historically speaking, overperforms relative to his averages at Bristol. And if he is to do it again, could be a chance at win number 2 for the 97 on this calendar season. Outside of Blake Cannon, your sponsoring driver brings the field to green. Cannon up and ahead with Lane then second. Third place will be Nicholas Ward. Up front going to be the same as previous, but it looks like Ethan Lane already trying to bring a fight as the caution's out. Yellow flag, Bernheimer with damage, and it looks like now we're pulling it all together. Woody Mahan slow. And the yellow's out. Watch this. Looks like Mahan involved in the early mayhem here for your third caution of the day. Contact from Cody Smith. That is what causes it. Up the track into Bernheimer. Ross Cato hit then by Eli Cars. Some back end damage for the number 12. Yellow flags out. 4 drivers involved. Cato. And notable there, Sam Nieto just avoiding it. And another incident as we now hit 50 laps of 100. Ethan Lane is in second. Nicholas Ward in third. Brad Patton is in fourth. And so it looks like they got off the line and stayed exactly in position. Really no differences overall. Bobby Keith from 16th to 7th. A few big movers as a result of these old tire guys keeping themselves out and in front. Let's talk about them before we get back to work. Bobby Keith, he is 16th to 7th. 17th to 6th is Jacob Fife, running in position 6-7 right now, Fife and Bobby Keith, and they're running strong as they've gotten themselves to their highest positions on the day. Matt Sisler, he finds himself 23rd to 8th, 20th to 9th, Galen Gidman. And the biggest mover of the old tire guys is one who's already starting to fall down. That is Richard Smith, 31st up to 11th, a gain of 20 positions. And we'll see what happens now, as he's one of the last guys in this buffer, and it means he's got the disadvantage of dealing directly with the drivers on new tire. I don't think that's going to help him out at all, and Smith so far hasn't been up in front otherwise in this race, and it means that he might have the biggest trouble, while guys like Cannon and Ethan Lane still might have their time in the sun to battle for the race lead. One lap to green. We will restart at lap 54, and this will be your fourth of the day. With the caution out again, it looks like Brock Potter is the only driver officially retired on the day. He is 17 laps down and shows little prospect of getting back on the circuit. Two drivers did not start. Those were Martin Tomlik, who would have been here for his debut, and the last position driver, that is Brian Perry, did not start as well. It'll be Cannon and Lane getting things in gear. And as the pace car lets low, here we go again, through the Geico restart zone. Blake Cannon decides on the inside. Previous restart, he went topside. Not so much now. Ethan Lane keeping Cannon honest, but the rest of the field, particularly those on older rubber, already getting shuffled. Jared Davis is one of the guys on new tire, and he's already making his gains. Number 19 is working the middle and the top, both together. Up high, Davis going through, and this for Jared would be 7th place at the stripe. Nicholas Ward gets up to 3rd place, and again, last time he went here with the Next Gens, he was a leader for many a lap, but that season didn't have either of these two drivers at a full-time capacity. It didn't have Blake Cannon at all, and Ethan Lane only made himself fewer than 5 starts, and so, yellow's out again, and it's at the back of the field. Randy Fiash involved, and let's see what happened. He was involved in slowing down. Everyone else involved was right in it. Bobby Keith, Richard Smith, Aaron Eads, and Sean Kalist, just to name a few. And it starts with Bobby Keith. One more time, we'll pull it back. Hit and taken up the track by Richard Smith, and those two ended up pinned up to the wall. Tom Wetmore slides, and he kisses the wall once, twice, but he isn't involved in the next part of the incident, as Sean Kalist is boxed in there by Chad Dillon, can't escape, hits, and Aaron Eads slides up the track, makes another instance of a hit. That's Eads into Smith, Kalist into Keith. And Aaron Eads hits both the 23 and the 92, all while Eric McFarlane hits Richard Smith. Big hits at the back end. So now McFarland, Nieto, Bobby Keith, Richard Smith all come in. We'll put it all back together and hope to get a clean restart. It's Blake Cannon leading past lap 60 now. Ethan Lane had a close shot at the race lead, but couldn't quite get there, as another pause of the green flag action. Blake Cannon and Ethan Lane, fastest two drivers in those last two restarts, but you got to keep your eyes peeled now on Jared Davis. Looking at that tire stint data, he is advantageous. Take a look at the left side of your screen. Any driver who has 45 or any number other than 0 pinned by their name means they've gone down to pit road at least once. So Davis, he fits the bill, and by virtue of going down to pit road, he's got younger, faster rubber. That's going to help him out, especially now that he gets back to business again in trying to climb the ranks. He might be poised to take the race lead if he can just keep himself ahead of other drivers with new tire. Everyone ahead of him currently does not have it, He's going to find himself the one and only competing up inside the top 5. One lap to green, restart at lap 63. Cannon, he's now led 3 restarts. First time around, he went high. Last time by, he went low, and he has returned again to the top side. Sun beginning to set, and it's evident now the stadium lights are ready to come alive. Ryan Greenlee and Clotton James, thank you both for coming around. And of course, sending some support now for Sean Kalist as he looks for what could be a rebound run. Let's see what happens here. 82 of Eli cars to pit road. Blake Cannon gets the surge up high, and now the entire circuit lacks the sun. That 44 and its numbers are still beaming as he glows through the opening corners. And not only does he glow through it, he goes through with quick success. Top 3 drivers get away just about the same as prior. Watch out now for Jared Davis and the double file train you're starting to see further on behind. Stadium lights are due to kick in the next about 15-20 laps as the sun really does fall out of the way. Limited visibility, I don't think that's going to be an issue for these drivers. Take a ride on board now with Davis and you'll see he's got his eyes peeled on Jacob Fife. The Bristol Motor Speedway, unique in that all of the sunshine that gets through, blocked eventually by the crowd. The coliseum, all half-mile of which has an even further extended coliseum oval filled with fans. And you can see it filled to the brim tonight in the virtual Bristol, Tennessee. Jared Davis to the inside now, but it looks like he's facing in competition. Zach Scrintinol for 9th. And Brian Yazik more of the same. So all of a sudden it looks like Scrintinol instead has himself further up the ladder, and those drivers on the new tires are going to battle each other for position, knowing that they were poised to eventually get up there, but only one of them can do so for the lead. Blake Cannon across the line. That'll be lap number 69. He's got a nice lead so far, but Ethan Lane is still looking to try and trim it down. Lane looks low, Cannon stays middle. No difference so far between the two in these last 5-10 laps, and very similar procession as the previous restart until it was brought to a halt. Oh, smoke billowing! And the call on the field is to stay green. Oh, leaders going around! Cannon turned! No choice now, the caution flies. Look at that, Blake Cannon turn by Ethan Lane. And the lead battle gets a bit too intense. Contact, both drivers met each other, coming off the exit of 4, and the 44 slips through. Blake gets very lucky, only minor nudge on the backside. Should be able to continue, but it's going to take a lot of this race to recover, given he has just relinquished all of his track position, and that he has also given up a set of tire. Yellow flag is out, 73 laps in the Cannon Creations 200, and its namesake driver finds trouble. First caution to happen at the front of the field today, and the leaders again. We have seen this season 3 instances of leading cautions, as in the leaders wrecking each other and prompting a yellow flag. Caution is out. Patton comes in, and so does Ethan Lane. And Patton going to be on the circuit here. Just to clarify, he comes through turns 3 and 4 and comes in as your race leader. Ethan Lane, and of course, it's see Blake Cannon both going to get some damage repaired here. And we're ready to go back at it. Next time by, we'll restart at lap 76. Slowly but surely, the pace is slowing down now as drivers have continued troubles. Yellow flags hopefully not going to be as prominent for the second half of this race, but we looked like we had our groove early on. And now, more yellow flags to come make things shakier. Even the battle for the race lead is not safe. Eric McFarland to pit road. Another one of those few guys to make it in this time by. Matt Sisler scored in third. Fourth place is Galen Gidman. One more extension will restart at lap number 77 and go to lap 78 according to timing and scoring now. Just a little bit more time to bring everyone through. And then we'll get at it. Brad Patton getting his first chance as a leader of a restart tonight in Bristol. Sun is back out, and it looks like more of an orange glow than anything else. And not as much of that brutal sunlight we had early on. Day to night race in full effect, and stadium lights are due on anytime soon. One to green for restart number 6. Patton and Ward are your front row. Everyone else further behind is ready to get to business. The hunt is on now for these two drivers. Patton still looking for his first win of the season. Ward, after years waiting, he finally got his. His eyes are on a second, but Brad Patton jumps out to a clear race lead. We're back on the way for lap 78. And it looks like now those stadium lights are officially on. As we predicted about 20 laps ago, nighttime racing going to come through. But let's talk about the weather, since much hasn't changed yet. Track temperature has only gone down a degree, ambient temperature up to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. But it looks like overall conditions will be similar for those on the circuit, no matter what we're looking at. Ryan Yazik is going to get to the inside on Kyle Trudell. That's going to be the fight now for about the 5th position at the line again. Patton to the points. Ward further back, Galen Gidman 3rd, Kyle Trudell 4th here, and side by side for P4. Further back in the top 10, you'll also see Tom Wetmore and Nick Tarbuck. They're toe-to-toe. 80 laps in, out of 100, getting closer and closer to halfway point, which is lap 100. So strategies, as we've seen so far today, have not been determined by any arbitrary lap number. With the amount of yellow flags we've had and the uncertainty of whether or not we'll have any again, I really think cautions are going to be the determining factor in strategy. It's not going to come down tonight to those specific markers you have to hit. It more so is just going to come down to the mercy of the field. That's very hard to predict, and it's going to keep drivers on their toes all night long. With an uncertain strategy, you'll get uncertain drivers. I don't know if that's going to lead tonight to more aggression, or if we see more of this stalemate, this hold in place where drivers are single file and are not actively taking moves because they understand that there's always going to be that big reset ahead of them. No fast repairs. We don't talk about resets as individual driver resets, but resets in terms of strategy, where everyone can buckle down, get new rubber, and finish this race. It's not great to rely on those strategy calls based on uncertainty, which leads us to that vicious cycle of determining when the right time is to go down a pit road, if there really is any. Tom Wetmore up high now. That's going to be on Nicholas Ward, and as they come side by side across the line, that will put Ward into 7th place. Tom Wetmore gains 6th, and he's looking at Matt Sisler now, eyeing up that chance at P5. Take a ride on board now with the Tom Wetmore, number 51. Tom Wetmore, 6th place as it stands in the Roadhouse Racing Chevrolet. Of course, his teammate Blake Cannon was up there in the battle for the lead, ended up getting spun around. Blake has recovered up to 13th so far, but with all the time he has here, more than 100 laps even still, I wouldn't be doubtful of Cannon getting inside the top 10 and perhaps even going further as the race progresses. 91 laps in out of a 200-lap feature, Cannon finds himself in the middle of the pack with the middle of this race just ahead. Cannon right now, of course, if he's going to get up at least to Tom Wetmore, it's going to take, I think, another yellow flag. It's going to be very challenging, even if he's the quickest driver on the circuit, to make these spots up naturally. The top 10, of course, going to be a challenge itself. You'll see here Kyle Trudell just further ahead in a more intense battle with Brian Yazik and Galen Gidman. Gidman from 20th on the grid is showing no signs of stopping, and once given track position, he's kept himself there, and I don't think he's looking to lose it at all. Gidman goes up high, and Brian Yazik again is going to recover for second, but this battle for third, not quite. I don't think he's stopped in the slightest here. And of course, it's going to be impressive to see whether or not Gidman can make it work for the rest of this race. But now Tom Wetmore is getting close. Wetmore looking to put the pressure on both Trudell and Gidman here. We'll see who, if any, fold in this fight. Because Wetmore's right there, and he's got to make room somehow. Oh, contact with Trudell. And a very brief contact at that. Trudell's going to fall in line by virtue of Wetmore's incoming pressure. That puts him up now into 3rd place as he even gets by Galen Gidman. It's only going to take him 2 laps to gain 2 spots and make it that much further up the ladder. Brad Patton, though, still leads, and it looks like while Brian Yazik is in 2nd, both drivers are nowhere near as quick as the man behind. Quicker and quicker, Tom Wetmore comes, and as he makes his way through, it's going to be almost impossible, of course, for Patton or Yazik to effectively defend. If they're going against each other, no doubt about it, that's the distraction. 3 wide, Tom Wetmore from 3rd to 1st. He'll take the spots. It's double trouble for the 51. And he ends up taking the positions home quickly. To halfway, Wetmore does the honors. 100 laps remaining. What a lap for Tom Wetmore. 3rd up to 1st. Now he's got a 1/4 second lead at the stripe. Wow. Simply put, Tom Wetmore with the move of the race off that. Just a brief pass. Of course, he made it a flashy one. He could have gone 1 by 1, but he sticks it 3 wide. Not only does he do it cleanly, but he's the one who gains both positions. Tom Wetmore, as we now are coming to the second half of this race, is up and ahead. Kyle Trudell, 12th to 3rd. Trudell now going to face that pressure from Brad Patton, but it looks like instead these drivers have met each other more than anything else. Trudell's gotten closer, Patton's gotten further from race leader Tom Wetmore now, and as they find themselves combined again. 97 laps to go. And you'll see Brad Patton, now he's got those 2 drivers to watch out for. Both Campbell and Trudell are not going to be easy to defend upon, especially if Patton's tires are starting to go away. Nate Campbell to the inside now. Can't get there. Lapper, Eric McFarland in the mix as well. Side by side. Nate Campbell still facing that pressure. And it looks like Brad Patton, of course, while he's putting down that pressure on the high side, it won't really work out to keep the spot. Campbell for 3rd. Strong running there from the 45 and the 7, but Nate just a little quicker, and that's going to send Patton down the ladder. Tom Wetmore leading, and his teammate Blake Cannon still trying to make his way up in the fight now. 12th place. Oh, Eric McFarland shaky. That's the lapper again of the 33. And the 44 right now. Cannon is going to need that miracle to continue making his way up the order. He's gotten himself up to now 9th as a result of that lap car shuffle. It looks like he's ahead now of Ethan Lane, but Lane's getting closer. Caution's out. It's Kevin Bernheimer. Yellow flag is out now for the 28. Watch this. Instant replay on the matter. And Bernheimer found himself running comfortably in the mid-pack. At the time of instant contact with Nolan Potter sends him up the track. Yellow flag. Bernheimer primarily involved as he heads down to pit road. And he's there now. With Blake Cannon continuing his comeback run up now to the 9th place at the time of the incident, we would like to thank Cannon Creations for coming aboard as our title sponsor for today's race. Brought to you by Blake Cannon, one of our wonderful drivers in the field today. And it looks like, well, he's come aboard not only as a driver, but as a sponsor. Save 20% on all Cannon Creations orders using promo code CANNON44 at the website link on your screen. And that will be thecannoncreations.myshopify.com, or scan the QR code on your screen for further information. That's Cannon Creations, bro. One lap to green now from the Bristol Motor Speedway. Drivers putting themselves together, and at the front of the field now will be Ryan Bean. Once again, a special thank you to Cannon Creations for their continued support, as tonight it looks like pit strategy has been ever the unpredictable factor. Leading man is now Bean. Tom Wetmore finds himself second, and it looks like your lone holdout is going to try something different. The field, of course, getting that extra time under yellow. Now Bean is going to concede. That will give, again, Tom Wetmore the race lead, and it looks like it'll be the 51 in control as we restart with 82 laps remaining. Bean down low, Wetmore on the racetrack, 8 Campbell finding himself in third. Of course, that's with Ryan Bean heading down and in, so everyone moves up a spot. It'll be Wetmore, Campbell, and Yazik, your podium for the time being. And then you'll have Kyle Trudell, Brad Patton, and further company ready to get back to work. A little bit of a long yellow flag just to sort everything out here. And so we will restart with perhaps less than 82 to go. It'll be 81 laps to go. Tom Wetmore bringing the field to green. He and his teammate Blake Cannon running strong so far tonight, but Cannon's going to end up shot down the ladder. You'll see he's now 22nd as he goes down to pit road again here. So it looks like he's going to fall back once more, as we saw previous setback for the number 44, involved in a battle and a wreck from the race lead. Got himself up to 9th before this caution, and it looks like he is falling downhill yet again. .81 laps to go, will become 80 now. Wetmore, Campbell, positions 1 and 2. Here we go again. Kyle Trudell and Brian Yazik will be your second row. Galen Gibman and Brad Patton will be row 3. And then you'll have that fourth row, consisting of Zach Scrintinol and Don Stevenson. By all accounts, a stout field up in front. And another slight extension, as it looks like now the yellow flag procedure is gone for upwards of 6 laps. Caution is out once more. And slowing things down for our longest caution of the day, just to figure out what exactly is happening. It looks like final lappers getting themselves in position. You'll see there's 25th in Jared Davis. There's Blake Cannon still on pit road, but it looks like at about this point we are ready to go. So we'll have under 80 laps to go this time by. It'll be 79 laps remaining. And it'll be Wetmore again with full control. Ross Cato on pit road. Notably, he'll still be there, as we saw from Cannon as well. But his teammate Wetmore gets the jump. Green flags out with 79 laps remaining. We're back in business as it's Trudell and Campbell, second and third. Campbell to the inside. Brian Yazik finds himself fourth. Brad Patton is fifth. And so begins the battle again. All these drivers now going to find themselves on new rubber, and they'll find themselves practically even in terms of pace. Ethan Lane to the inside. He's got himself there, watching and waiting to see what Zach Scritton on the high side does. Does the top side clear up? It looks like it will not. Don Stevenson is going to be the back end of this three-row shuffle. Oh, contact further back. What's that going to be? It looks like the call on the field is we stay green. Matt Sizzler ends up falling down to the inside wall. Here's a quick replay. Slams it, but nobody else involved. We're still going at full pace. 76 laps to go. Luckily, Matt doesn't come up into anyone at the time of the incident anyway, and so we return. 75 laps to go. Wetmore here, gotta watch out. He's got some close company. Kyle Trudell, after being denied victory last week, he would like to finally get back up there and do it again. Looks like Woody Mahan, Blake Cannon going to disconnect. To the inside goes Brad Patton. Patton goes low. It'll be 3 wide now. Nieto goes middle. Oh, there's contact, and the number 7 has to back off. Talk about a tight situation. We've only seen 3 wide work well once today. That was Wetmore who got it done. But it looks like tonight, as he goes for what could be his second Bristol win with the Next Gens, he's been the only driver to get away with those dicey moves. Everyone else, not quite. And I think that's the way it's going to be. I mean, double file is sometimes a stretch at Bristol, so to see 3 wide even attempted, I'll tell you this much, it was nerve-wracking when we saw what happened there with Tom Wetmore, but he got the race lead, and I'll tell you this much, he has kept it. And so far, it looks like that consistency and the enhancement in performance is all he needed, because he's been able to lead this race ever since and do so with pretty firm control of what's going on. 15th to 7th. That's going to be Zach Scrintinol in the number 20. Brad Patton is going to be 8th. Don Stevenson is in 9th. Ooh, Zach Scrintinol turned up the track by Brad Patton. Contact, and the caution will fly with 70 laps remaining. Up high, Scrintinol was before the incident. Patton at first getting him loose by air and finishing him off with a shove from Don Stevenson. Nieto also involved, as was, and briefly, a few other drivers. You saw there, Matt Sisler goes down and in. Paul Mikolajczyk got away, but I believe Bobby Keith gets contact. Yes, he does in the 92. And Patton will immediately disconnect subsequent to that incident. Kevin Bernheimer into pit road as well. 67 laps remaining. Tom Wetmore, he's been at it for the past 40-some laps in control. He took the race lead by storm, and he has not turned back since. Very impressive so far from Wetmore this race. Looking to bring Roadhouse Racing back on top for his second victory of the season. He, of course, started things off well with the win at Daytona. Ever since, he's been strong, but a race win has been more or less off the question for more than half of these races. He was great in Darlington as well, but Cannon outshined him on pace, neither of which were able to fight for the victory, and Wetmore was just barely off the podium by the end of the night. Brad Patton beating him to the punch. Heading back to work with 66 laps remaining, and it'll likely be less than that when we go green. A majority of this race has already come to pass, and it's going to be a short sprint from here no matter when we go back to the green flag. More than 140 laps will be in the books very soon. Already at lap 135, coming to 136, and we know now that strategy is very much put together when it comes to the majority of this race. What's left is just pushing to the end. I think pit stop strategies will be in unison. Won't see anyone really splitting it up together. Now, it's just pushing till the end as one. Not going to be easy to determine when to go down, just by virtue of how many cautions we've had, but when one goes, highly likely everyone goes. That's going to keep everyone in sync. Shouldn't be all too much a problem. One extra lap of caution here. We'll go back at it with 63 to go. Tom Wetmore takes the top side. Kyle Trudell, after a career best run last week, why not go for more? I think that's going to be the end goal for Trudell. Second place, of course, a great taste of the podium in this series, but I think if he wants to continue and get up there as a true championship contender, he's got to prove that he can do more than finish in P2. Currently, when we look at the championship standings, Nate Campbell leads by 14 points over Blake Cannon. Cannon not having the best of nights. Campbell solidly in third right now. But then you look back to someone like Kyle Trudell, and this is when we start thinking about the numbers, even for our rookies here. Trudell has a ways to go to get himself up in the mix, but Wetmore gets back to the jump, and Tom pulls through for P1. 64 laps to go. Up top, 1, 2, 3. The leaders decide to take it up to the high side rather than working low. Kyle Trudell, by the way, is 25th in the championship standings coming in. Wetmore, 22nd. While Tom has a win, he's going to have to prove that his consistency can be maintained and, of course, increased. Looking for win number 2 would be a great deal for him, as it would be another podium for Trudell. But they're both in the middle of the championship pylon overall and haven't shown any outstanding flares consistency-wise. 61 to go. Caution's out again. Everyone getting put together. Looks like Paul Mikolajczyk with some damage, but it looks like it's all previous. Aaron Eads, though, he now gets himself around, and he saw the incident, luckily wasn't involved. That will take the 33 of Eric McFarland. It's going to take him pretty bad. Watch what happened. Big hit for McFarland, and he gets involved. Kevin Bernheimer down low. Oh, Chad Dillon checks up. Then Bernheimer into Skrintenall. Both drivers split. And the 33 spins up the track, hit by Brock Potter, then by Jared Davis. .59 to go. McFarland taken for a ride across the entire field. Shorter and shorter our green flag lap tally will be. And it looks like we might have less than 55 laps of green flag racing to remain. Again, a lot more could happen and more cautions could occur. No guarantee as to whether or not they do, but the trends have indicated really no stopping to the aggression we've seen to this point. Wetmore advantageous. Brian Yazik qualified today in second. While we haven't talked all too much about him and he's been rather quiet, he has been consistently up in front. And, of course, having a great performance today means a real big deal to this number 55 crew. Yazik, one of the rookies who came in strong. We saw some promise out of him from as early as Daytona. Ever since that point, however, he's been caught up in multiple big incidents. That's really limited his potential. He's now 26th in the championship, right behind Kyle Trudell, in fact. So these two guys are rather neck and neck in how they perform so far, and Tom Wetmore is not too far ahead. All these guys who are in the mid-20s of the championship standings are proving that anyone can come up here, points-wise anyway, and take a win. Wetmore, of course, he's done it multiple times. He's a 6-time race winner in the Octane Series, and he is tied for the 3rd highest in that category all time, historically speaking. But this season, of course, maybe not getting to the right foot besides Daytona. These other two drivers are brand new. They've got to make their way in. Green flag with 55 to go, exactly. Tom Wetmore will be again the man in control on the bottom groove. It'll be Kyle Trudell. See a few other guys making some gains. It's Nicholas Ward now 6th, Nick Tarbuck up to 8th, Ryan Bean 21st up to 10th, Scott Eckrich, he's fallen down majority of the day. He's now 1st to 13th. Still looks like he hasn't gotten himself back up in front. Green flags out. Tom Wetmore getting away. And now with 55 laps to go, it's going to be side by side just behind. Kyle Trudell side by side with Brian Yazik, but for the race lead now, Nate Campbell's looking for a shot in the arm. Here comes the 45, looking low. He hasn't yet gotten himself up to the checkered flag this season, but he's been perhaps the closest guy to do so without yet getting it done. And a testament to his consistency is one thing, but now he's looking to prove he's atop the mountain. To the inside on Wetmore once again for the third straight lap. It won't work out. He'll concede both positions 1 and 2. Back to third goes Nate. Ryan Yazik to the inside. That's going to be for third. Nate Campbell is not going to relinquish his position, though, and now he's running directly behind the leaders, and he's taking that as his biggest advantage now. He'll watch, he'll wait. If Trudell makes a move, that might just open the door for more. Kyle hasn't found that rhythm, hasn't found that room. He'll stay in line. Ryan Yazik goes in. Nate Campbell going to be right there. That's still third, but it looks like now that's about the plateau for the 45 of Campbell. Kyle Trudell is now within a 10th of a second of the race lead. Take a ride on board now with that number 84, and you'll see exactly what's going on as Kyle stays right in line for the lead. Victory is in sight. Not there just yet, but it is a real close deal. Kyle Trudell scrapes the wall ever so slightly. Wetmore scrapes it greater. Oh, there's contact! And it looks like Trudell gets away. Caution's out. Wetmore just might have gone around. Here's your replay. Yes, he does. Tom Wetmore sliding. Take a look at this. Wetmore in the 51 ends up another, for the second time today and the fourth time in the past 3 races, the leaders wreck each other. Wetmore into Yazik, into Nicholas Ward, another instance of leading contact, and Kyle Cooper gets the final piece. He's the second Roadhouse Racing driver to be involved in a battle in which the leader was turned for the lead. Both times, the Roadhouse guys were leaders. Both times, they get torn up. And Wetmore, I think, got it even worse than his teammate in Cannon. Talk about a horrible coincidence. And of course, coincidental or not, Tom Wetmore is going to fall back, and that might be game over. Take a look one more time. We'll pull it back again and try to get Kyle Trudell's perspective on the matter. Of course, this time we'll take it for the roll bar camera to give you a cleaner view of what exactly and when exactly the contact occurred. And Wetmore got off the wall, and they met each other in the same spot. Yellow flags have been consistent this race, that's for sure. Trudell's in, as is Tarbuck, as is Nieto, as is a majority of the field, and now Tom Wetmore is just making his way in as well. It looks like more time on pit road for the field, and here comes the 84 of Kyle Trudell getting on his way. We'll have just about 40 laps to go when we return green. Kyle Trudell looks like the leader off pit road. Nate Campbell will keep himself out. And it'll be a group of 7 drivers who are the holdouts in this instance. Nate Campbell, Jacob Fife, Ryan Bean, Ethan Lane, Scott Eckrich, Galen Gidman, and Chad Dillon. Rest of the field decides to stay out. Only until now. At which point they came in, and it's a small bundle now, decide to do something different. Let's see what Campbell can do. After we take a look back, Kyle Trudell, after that contact with Wetmore, I think that's one competitor out of the way. And I'm going to say, unfortunately, that was another racing incident where both drivers met each other just at the wrong place at the wrong time. And it happens. Often, in fact. It happened twice today with your leaders. 4 different drivers, 2 remarkably similar wrecks. Nevertheless, we will go green, and it looks like now, yes indeed, 40 laps to go. Nate Campbell's up top. Jacob Fife is on the bottom. Why not get back to business? And it looks like now Campbell's going to be dealing with Ethan Lane. Lane was involved in that first instance of leaders wrecking each other. He was the driver who was on the bottom side of it, shall we say, and he saw Cannon spin off his bumper. But it looks like Ethan's been able to maintain a cleaner car. He's second now as he gets right up there. Nate Campbell takes the race lead. 40 laps to go. Ethan Lane works to the bottom. It's side by side now between the 6 and the 45. Oh, contact, Galen Gidman in the wall. 3 wide now, Jacob Fife, Eckrich, and Kyle Trudell. They'll blow by Jacob Fife. Fife now finds himself slowing down here. Nicholas Ward trying to catch up to Nick Tarbuck. Nate Campbell, all eyes on he and Ethan Lane. Lane is looking to sweep the week. He won last night in Indianapolis. He's looking for the lead again. He's low. He's got it. He's clear, only to be tagged again. Lane almost goes around, but he gets away. 37 laps to go. Campbell coming back for more. Look off the back end now because Ethan Lane's got a fight on his hands. Nate Campbell is there. And of course now, when you watch him go, you gotta wonder when's he gonna make that move. He's got a good run on the high side. He's been able to pull it up there consistently, but 35 laps to go. You got to wonder whether or not he's got the stuff to really make it stick. Up high goes the 45 again. Nate Campbell, Ethan Lane. Side by side here. It looks like no longer. It's going to be 34 laps to go as they come across the line. Battling further back, Galen Gidman and Kyle Trudell. These 2 drivers have kept themselves honest for the 3rd position. Galen Gidman having the night of his season so far. When you consider the numbers, Galen hasn't been able to do anything extraordinary to this point. But it looks like tonight might be the change that he needs to continue progressing up the ladder. Talking about the championship points, as we did, a majority of these guys are, of course, in the middle of the 20s. Some of our front runners not having the best of days. 30th place right now is where Gidman lies in the championship picture, though. Really not at all toward the front. And I think that goes to show again. Gidman not unleashing that full potential we've seen of him before. Tonight, though, he might be even closer to that point than we've ever seen. He's had good runs prior, but good isn't just, of course, a top 10 or top 5 tonight. Good is fighting up there for the podium. Scott Eckrich, 1st to 5th. He's dropped down a few spots, and it looks like now he's looking to reclaim what he can with 30 to go. Ethan Lane, Nate Campbell, 29 laps left. The Hornet's Nest right now is the tightest bundle on the circuit, and you'll see Nicholas Ward with Nick Tarbuck. Watch on board now for the number 4 as he sees the big fight continue. Jacob Fife and Nicholas Ward right ahead. Ward is again fighting for the top 5 tonight, and it looks like he's getting closer now to Galen Gidman to really solidify it. Ward has been on a roll as of late, and it is amazing to see a driver develop and show that progression. Finally getting his first Octane Series win after nearly 6 years winless in the Integrity Racing League. Ward has done it again, and now it looks like with that newfound confidence in both series, he has been outperforming any previous statistics we've had on him. He's great at Bristol. Last time we came here, he led many a lap. He hasn't done quite the same tonight, but he is still fast, and it looks like he is exactly where he needs to be. 25 laps to go. Inside, Nick Tarbuck. It's going to be the battle of the Nicks, and it looks like, again, Ward has a slight edge. He'll make it through Ethan Lane, 7/10 up on Nate Campbell. 23 laps to go. Next time by with 22 laps to go, of course, we'd like to thank our partners at TrackCams22.com, of course. They ended up swapping out and helping us out and bringing on Whiplash SimCams, the newest iRacing partner, of course, for camera products, and they're the best place to go for anyone of any skill level. Visit Whiplash SimCams and their social media services, where you can find free camera packs for any broadcasting level, and their premium packs, $5 a piece, no licensing fee. With 20 laps to go this time by, we're going to give you a crank it up from the last great coliseum here in Bristol, Tennessee. Take a listen as we go unfiltered from Bristol. Caution's out, 17 laps to go. We've got a problem, and the field is going to come to a quick slowdown. Chad Dillon involved. Yellow flag is out. Dillon slides. The field comes to a rest. Watch this. Up the track with Ryan Bean. Both drivers slamming into each other. And the Lockheed Martin 26 kept him there for a half lap before disposing of him. Talk about a violent ending for that run for Chad Dillon. He might be able to get back out there on the track, but I'll tell you what, he got carried through. And at speed, no less. Gotta hurt him and the car. 16 to go. And everyone comes together again. Lap 185 for your leaders. Ethan Lane, of course, superior to all so far. He's got the edge coming toward the very end. Less than 15 to go, we go green. It might be less than a dozen, depending on adding calls, as we've seen extended yellows. Eli Carr's up on the day, good to mention. He's made some gains so far. He's got himself a fair chance at a top 20 now if more issues are to rise. He's the only driver 13 laps down, and he is currently sitting 23rd. He's gone from 33rd to 23rd on the day, so thank you again, Clot and James in the chat room pointing it out. Eli Carr's a little bit of a troublesome start, but when you consider the numbers, he's made his moves, and he's up double digits to this point. 13 laps down, gaining 10 positions so far. Also a testament to how crazy this race has been. It's been chaotic, to say the least, and we've seen it happen like that before. Oftentimes, hard to avoid that chaos in Bristol. Caution extended. We will restart with 12 laps to go. And 12 laps to go at Bristol is more like 5 laps to go at any other track. It'll be a dozen to do it. And Ethan Lane is looking for a do-or-die moment here. He won last night. He took the lead on the final lap and got himself a victory. Now, of course, to go and sweep the week, it's this or nothing. Nate Campbell's kept it close, but he hasn't had the same level of pace, to put it simply. I think that's going to be the trend that prevails. And we're going to see that, of course, play out in these next coming laps. Unless Campbell really gives his all and maybe gives more than what we've seen, looks like now we know exactly what to expect. Lane looking to put the fight together. Ethan Lane up top, Nate Campbell down low, Scott Eckridge, your pole sitter, still with an outside chance for the lead. Green flags out, Lane gets it bolting. Scott Eckridge now inside the podium, and more than that, he'll be in second place, just one position away from the race lead, something he hasn't been able to get to now for more than 100 laps. He hits the Centurion mark on that absence as the caution is out. Yellow flag, call on the field. It looks like maybe Kyle Cooper, Aaron Eads, some of those who slow down big, but the numbers will prove that another was involved. Take a look further behind these guys and you'll see there's Bobby Keith. Looks like mangled on the front end. And he'll head down quickly to pit road. Watch this. He was mangled to begin with, it looks like. And Tom Wetmore got involved. So Wetmore, part of this caution, take it back. It's the 51 for the second time in the past 50 laps. And from bad to worse, hit by Chad Dillon, and he's taken up the track. Last time it was Dillon who got taken for a ride. Wetmore doesn't even have a back end. Watch it come to rise, though. Here's the instant replay that'll show you just that. He didn't have a back bumper before, and then he got caught up in traffic. Tries to go to the inside, and it looks like Dillon finds him, and Wetmore slides. Tom is currently 17th, and it looks like he will stay just on the lead lap, but he's got damage. It's going to make any positions gained a much harder call. Ethan Lane chooses top. Lap 193. We will be set to go back at it with 6 laps remaining for the number 6. Ethan Lane is about ready now to get up to it. He won last night and did so with a huge challenge of having to make it through on that long green flag strategy. Only one caution last night. We have definitively had more than 10 today. That is for certain. Quite the opposite in terms of the races we've had. 100 laps last night, 1 yellow flag, and we've gone to the double digits in cautions now as we are getting ready to go for it. Lap 194 will become lap 195 next time by. Caution extended slightly again. That will make it only 5 laps to go. The Aflac Ford Mustang, it's his call as to what he does next. He's got the top, as he requested. Scott Eckridge, your pole sitter, is back down low as it was to start. He won't be the control car, though, and I believe that's the difference maker. Winning and losing hangs in the balance of this jump. Side by side, everyone's together. Nick Tarbuck notably up inside the top 5, as is Nicholas Ward. Here we go. Green flags out, and to the outside, Ethan Lane puts it back in motion. Full send out of turns 1 and 2. That's what Lane needs, but we're now in overtime watch. Any caution will send us deep, and it'll go past regulation. Reminder that we have 3 attempts as we now go across the line for 4 laps to go. Ethan Lane is in the picture, and it looks like he's got a shot to win this one. Better than anyone else. Scott Eckrich runs right behind. He's there, but he can't quite make a pass. 3 laps to go. Lap 198 now. Ethan Lane finding himself still just ahead. Top 3 drivers using the top groove. Nick Tarbuck is there as well. Nicholas Ward finds himself 4th with some front end damage. And then you got Kyle Trudell. 2 to go now. Don Stevenson side by side with Nate Campbell. But it's all up in front for Ethan Lane as he'll falter. Scott Eckrich takes the race lead. Lane slams the wall. 1 lap to go. Sweeping the week? Not quite. Eckrich, your pole sitter, after nearly 150 laps out of the race lead, is on top once again. Scott Eckrich wins from Bristol. Wow. Lane, with right side contact, is not happy. Slam, spin. Watch this. Eckrich, not afraid to dive and slide through Lane. And that's for the race win. Scott Eckrich gets the job done. The bump and run is back. And it's used to great effect for the 70. No burnout, he'll immediately drop off the circuit and call it a night. Wow, what a run to the end there. A dramatic race-changing finish for Scott Eckrich, who only led 7 laps of the day of 200 as your pole sitter. Nevertheless, he'll win over Nick Tarbuck in 2nd. Ethan Lane finishes 3rd, and it'll be Nicholas Ward then 4th, with Kyle Trudell P5, 6th place in Galen Gidman, and Matt Sisler then in 7th. Don Stevenson goes 8th with P9, then being Jacob Fife, and Nate Campbell is 10th place on the Yoder as well. You'll have 11th place driver just beyond that. That'll be, of course, Sam Nieto. Cody Smith goes 12th, and Josh Gallagher goes 13th, with Tom Wetmore P14, Ryan Potter 15th, and Ryan Bean 16th place. 17th spot is Randy Fiash with Brian Yazik in 18th. 19th goes Chad Dillon. And then you'll have Ross Cato concluding the top 20. 21st on the day will then be driver of the number 77, Paul Mikolajczyk. Subsequently, you will then have Eli Cars, Bobby Heath, Zach Scrintinol, Jared Davis, Kyle Cooper, Kevin Bernheimer, Aaron Eads, Richard Smith, and Brock Potter for 30th. Final drivers on the day go as follows with Brad Patton, Eric McFarland, most laps led, Blake Cannon, Woody Mahan, and Sean Kalist, Martin Tomlick, and Brian Perry rounding out your final of the 37 drivers registered. Hectic, to say the least tonight. Scott Eckrich, who hardly led, did 2 things of utmost importance. For 1, he led to start the race. That's the pole position. And for 2, and perhaps the most important of all when it comes to getting to victory lane, he led the last lap. And that's the one that made it count. So, I think it's going to be a controversial one, and we're going to be getting both sides in the broadcast booth. Let's get your winning one first. It's the number 70 of Scott Eckrich, and we'll hear from the driver who gets it done first and foremost. Of course, top of the podium, only 7 laps led, but in the end, the stat sheet will show you went from the pole to the victory.
Yeah, that was a very chaotic race, and definitely didn't want to make contact first and foremost with Ethan at the end there. Just definitely pinched him real hard, kind of put him in a really impossible situation. I'm sure we'll look at that in the future. But yeah, I mean, it feels good to win another race here, and Bristol was always kind of good to me, so it just kind of feels good to get one done here.
And of course, we saw that you had that early pace and confidence with how you ran in qualifying. But when we look at that laps led number, I think that's the biggest difference between expectations, maybe, and reality. You really didn't lead a lot of the time. You led when it mattered, absolutely, but otherwise, you found yourself in the upper fight, but never as the standout until the very end. So, how was it for you managing your pace as it appears, of course, confident record of history, success wise, but tonight you had to really fight for it at the end?
Yeah, real early, I was just gonna let all the people that wanted to go hard go, and it's kind of unfortunate that first green flag run ended because that'd have been real cool to keep that one going. Really kind of felt like my tires were just coming in, and they were just in the sweet spot there, right as the caution came out in that first run. So, yeah, just unfortunately got some damage on one of the checkups at the near the middle part of the race after we pitted, and just car was real struggle to drive after that. Managed to get enough cautions to get it fixed and work my way back through the field there, and just had just enough left at the end.
And we saw that making your way up the track, getting those positions, of course, contact between you and Ethan Lane overall, and looked like it was all or nothing for the win. You've now got yourself the most on the calendar with 3 victories. How important was it to you win tonight before we head to our first break of the season?
Yeah, I mean, just it's always good to have the momentum before a break, and obviously, with the competition here, you can't give one away, so you got to give it everything you got, and you gotta fight with all you got, and just hope it's enough, because at the end of the year, when this comes down to the chase, you're gonna need everything you could get.
And it looks like now building up that gap and the advantage. Victory lane for the 3rd time this season. And before we head to our next race on the schedule, which is going to be an exciting one in Talladega, we got some time away. So before we head to our break on the, of course, first part of the calendar, Scott, if you have any final comments for us, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, just thank everyone on the broadcast here for you for doing your job, and putting on this awesome show we get to watch every week.
Scott Eckrich coming away with a race victory and an exciting one at that. Pulled to the victory lane. Of course, for Scott, thank you for your time. With Eckrich on the move, we're going to talk to a driver who so far has not yet won this season, and admittedly, when it comes to the victories, it is weakest start to his Octane Series calendar so far. Both in 23 and 24, he already had himself in victory lane prior, but when it comes to consistency, this might just be his best effort yet. Nick Tarbuck does Nick Tarbuck things and makes his way up to 2nd place, all while qualifying 11th and really not being in the upper discussion until the very end. And of course, Strong had top 10 pace, but to come away 2nd, I'm sure, was a pleasant surprise for the number 4 team.
Yeah, man, really it was. I was pretty quick, but I think everybody was pretty quick at the start. But I really was able to make. If we had got some long runs, I think I would have been able to get up there more and been in the discussion more. But we just got no long runs, which is a shame because not only is it better to watch long runs, I think, but it's where my strong suit is. So, yeah, making it up there at the end was a little bit of tires guessing game, luck, a little bit of strategy, I guess. Avoiding the wrecks was huge. I mean, geez, I can only think of like 3 or 4 wrecks that could have been in, but I just managed to avoid. Maybe I caused when I don't actually know. But yeah, I mean, 2nd place isn't bad. Was really hoping they would both spin each other out and I just run away with the victory there. But we'll take 2nd, I guess.
Tonight, the strategy game may be going against exactly what you would have liked. A lot of those yellow flags back and forth. We saw a good opening run, but ever since that first caution, we saw a significantly different race. How was it for you adapting your game to, of course, what became most prominent? Cautions and a lot of breaks in between.
Yeah, I mean, I was just really aggressive. I mean, the first run, maybe first 2 runs, I ran a low line and gave I mean, we were running pretty good race pace, pretty comfortably, not killing the right front, just trying to be real nice and drive the car, like a normal human being. But once those cautions started happening, I mean, you saw everybody went to the top. I went to the top and just had to try to defend my spot. Start this really throwing it in there, just completely throwing caution to the wind when it comes to like trying to save tires. So that was pretty much the only way my driving style changed due to the cautions. But I really like running the bottom here. It's just a shame that we can never get a run where running the bottom actually paid off, except for maybe one run we had. But yeah, man, it's just pile onto the top line and try not to let anybody pass you, really, was the strategy at the end.
And the end is exactly what counted there. Only a 5-lap sprint to the checkered flag. Found yourself in front at the time of incident there between the race leaders. And keeping yourself clean appears to be most important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was obviously chaotic all throughout the field tonight. And when they had the little mishap, I didn't know, but like I had a feeling it was going to happen because Scott was really aggressive and Ethan's really aggressive, and I'm like, these guys might both just wreck, and I might just run away with the win here. And unfortunately for Ethan, only he spun out, and Scott was able to get away with it. But I was really hoping they both slowed down a little bit so I could shoot in there and just get a win, man. I mean, I think I'm pretty good here at Bristol. I really like racing here. It's just the competition in this league is very unforgiving. So I got to take what I can get, and the second's what I can get, then that is what it is.
Talladega is up next for both our Monday and Tuesday night schedule. We know you're a regular contender in both, but we've got ourselves a week off up next for our Easter break. Until we head back to action in Alabama, though, Nick, if you have any final comments you'd like to send out, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man. Well, I want to thank you as always for putting on a great broadcast. Thanks to the admins for putting on a good race. They're keeping it straight there with the yellow flags and all that. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. Mom, Dad, I know Dad's healing up in the hospital, so we're all, looking forward to having him come home, and the wife and everybody else, boys back home. So yeah, looking forward to the off week, taking a little rest, and then getting back at it at a insane track like Talladega.
Back to business now, of course, at the 2.5+ miling circuits, but for the short tracks tonight, Nick Tarbuck holds off well. Second place on the day for the 4 team. Thank you for stopping by.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
And with Nick Tarbuck on the move, your last driver to hear from, I'm sure he'll have some choice words. He won last night, and it seemed like with just about 3 laps to go, he will be poised to do the very same thing for a second consecutive day. But fate had other plans tonight for the driver of the number 6. That's Ethan Lane, and he's going to stop by the FTN broadcast booth right up next. We're bringing Lane right down as we speak. It's going to be Lane who comes through 3rd place tonight from the Bristol Motor Speedway. And Lane, you're with us now. Podium finish, certainly strong in that sense, but I'm sure you wanted a little bit more, particularly your 2nd straight win of the week.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I feel like I raced most people clean in this league, and to have that happen with 2 to go, I expect getting hit in the rear, but not in the left rear quarter panel to basically end our shot. It would have been great if we could have ran side by side, but I guess we couldn't do that.
And I'm going to have to, of course, ask first and foremost, just before we get to the rest of it, walk us through how it was in that final 5-lap stretch from your perspective, of course. Things got hectic.
We were tight. Heat cycles played a factor in the tires. We didn't have the turn we did before that caution on lap 183. But yeah, it is what it is, unfortunately. People will call that just short track racing. But that's not racing in my eyes. I get wanting to move someone out of the way, but to almost wreck them, it's not where we should be as a league.
And of course, big frustrations as a result of that finish. I'll have to ask you, of course, how it was tonight working race strategy. You were in the ups and downs, involved with an incident with Blake Cannon. That was also for the lead as well, and we saw some troubles at the front of the pack, maybe more so than usual. So how was it keeping yourself clean for a chance at the win in those final laps?
Yeah, we did what we had to do. We pulled the right strategy, I thought. I thought once we took the lead, those last 40 laps, we were just gonna be able to drive away. And I do want to apologize to Blake. I feel like we net coded a little bit before he actually got turned off 4. We were riding there, and we just came together all 4. Definitely not my intention to do that. But yeah, no, third place is great. Better race for us compared to the last 2 weeks. Yeah, man, this is one of my favorite racetracks to be on. With back-to-back chances of having a potential win. Unfortunately, last week money shifted it going to 3 and blew the thing up before that caution. But overall, good day. Proud of everyone who can keep it clean and can keep it green. It would have been a lot better though if we could have went greener a lot longer.
First and third on the day here, of course, a statement week, and that caps off the first part of both seasons here. Certainly tight competition this season, but you found yourself close to victory lane, and you found yourself already multiple times there in these series overall, both the Ignite and Octane series. Got Talladega as our next challenge, going to be quite the wild card race. So reflecting on the first category of both seasons, these first few races, first 9 apiece, how's it been for you coming back in 2025, and of course reflecting on your early performance?
Not good, honestly. We're a lot lower in the standings than I thought it would be. We've had speed, just like the first part of last season. We're able to put the runs or the races together. Here these past 2 this week, we actually were. Looking forward to the second half of the season or second, third, wherever we're at, and going from there, picking them off one at a time. Hopefully getting a few more wins.
Looking, of course, to fine execution, something we absolutely saw from the 6 team all week long and in spades. While it doesn't go quite as right tonight as last night, Ethan Lane still third today from Bristol. If you have any final comments you'd like to send out, we'd love to hear it.
Just everyone in the league, everyone who runs it, do a solid job, but wish we could come to Bristol just once and have at least like a 100 lap run. It's cool to see who pushes their car and who doesn't, and who saves their stuff and who doesn't. And just you for putting on these broadcasts. It'll be definitely interesting to go back and watch this one, see what I could have done different, but I don't know if there was much I could have done. Other than that, we'll move on. We have an off week. We'll go to Dega in 2 weeks and try to pull a sweep.
Ethan Lane, strong week overall as we head toward our Easter break, finishing on the podium here from Bristol. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
And with Ethan on the move, you've heard now from your top 3 drivers. Ethan Lane tonight, after contact, still able to recover and take home third. It'll be Nick Tarbuck, the biggest mover of the podium, from 11th place up to P2. And your winning man, Scott Eckrich, from the pole position to leading 7 laps to winning. And of course, he does so in a little bit of a controversial fashion. Nevertheless, it was small contact, and the bump and run is always here at Bristol, and it looks like it came back from spirit into reality. Nevertheless, our first 9 races of the Integrity OCTANE Series and our first 18 calendar races of the Integrity Racing League have come to pass, and what an exciting early race bracket we've had overall. Wonderful racing. It is intense, it's competitive, and there's so many guys on the field that's really challenging to tell who's going to find way to victory. Tell you this much, the standout of the season so far for the Octane crew, it's got to be Scott Eckrich. He has 3 wins coming into this portion of the season, and while he's in the fight with Blake, Cannon, and company for the championship lead, he, Campbell, Cannon, and Tarbuck are the real talking points so far at the top of the scoring pylon. And that's the way we're going to head into Talladega. 2 weeks' time, same place, 9 p.m. EST. FTN Broadcasting will bring you the return of the Integrity OCTANE Series in Alabama. And the Octane Series returns the same week as the Ignite Series. So stay tuned in 2 weeks for Monday and Tuesday night as the Integrity Racing League comes back to action. You've been watching coverage from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway of the 9th race in the 2025 Integrity OCTANE Series season. I've been your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always sincerely appreciated. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Congratulations to race winner Scott Eckridge on his third of the campaign, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's coverage.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.